We have the model by which to operate socially, and it is biology.
When people say life's not worth living, do you think that's a predication of a subjective narrative, or do you think that they forget what life is?
I'd say the
think that's
cosmos begs to differ.
Okay, that's. I didn't. You shouldn't do short, sweet answers like that. I was expecting like a nice, whatever. Anyway, point being.
Sorry for the laconic crowd. I'll try to dress it up next time.
Yeah, well, that's cool. No, it's just the fact that it's like, because I think life, myself personally, is an important aspect of the universe. So I'm just trying to understand how, if we cut ourselves off from that system, right? The system is there. We already know this, right? It's called nature. So if we try and disconnect ourselves by some superficial notion of superiority, then I think we're doing ourselves a disservice. The only outcome I can see if we ignore the system would be our eradication eventually. You get the point. It's like we're walking subliminally into our own extinction.
Well, I'm not sure our cohorts would allow that, and by cohorts I mean, like, for instance, the microbiome that lives in and on us outnumbers us by 10 to 1, and has a lot to do with the way that our physiology, thoughts, our attractions, our likes and dislikes are shaped. And in fact, what we are may be, sort of already a community that is, we tend to think of ourselves as human and human DNA and so forth, but we're actually integrated into a web of life that cultivates us one way or another to be constructive or destructive according to the needs of the parliament of living creatures. In other words, we don't always make decisions that we think we do. We make decisions, in some cases at least, based on this whole rippling thing of hormones and little proteins and whatnot that we have no comprehension how they're actually affecting our state of being. So even if we just let things ride the way they are, the cosmos has pulled us from these simpler elements into these more harmonious ones that are predicated on cooperative relationships and so forth. I have no reason to believe it won't continue to happen, even if we are just a leg of the journey. That I think that the relationships that are defined by the cosmos are going to produce that sentience and that mechanism where we ourselves become the forces and the elements that express. That's why we're building cell phones and highways and blah. And this is what we're doing. We're just reflecting what's already been done by the cosmos.
I think that the whole hologram idea or the fractal idea is relevant to the situation we find ourselves in. I think we are just a reflection of what came before, and what came before was the universe.
You have the look of your mother.
Well, that's it. It came from the same laws, but we can do that on a smaller scale, in the sense of simplistic actions in chemistry. And that's what I'm saying. If we ignore the system, then it's to our own folly.
I would say there's a very practical grounding thing in that if you look for places where you can cultivate good things to grow good things, like, for instance, let's take addicts and enablers. Words are so poorly suited to actually get ideas across except as pointers. So, I'm using them sloppily. Forgive the, sloppiness here, but addicts and enablers. An addict is someone who is destructively taking, and an enabler is somebody who's destructively giving. Those guys find each other, and mind you, they even fishtail that erratic pattern fishtails through the generations. An addict has a tendency to raise, if they have children, to raise enablers, and then they find addicts, and that fishtail goes on and on through the. But the most fulfilling relationships are when you're both looking out for each other equally. In other words, where someone is not necessarily doing the same task, not a homogeneous task, because your heart doesn't do the same thing your kidneys do, but they both work together toward each other's benefit. That's the axiom of relationships at the personal level. If you can find people that you can trust, that will have your back and you have their back, you're building community. That's the real kind of thing that we need. And that same thing has to happen on a business scale, on a governmental scale, on an environmental scale, and all of that, in order for us to make a better world.
Let's put that in practical terms, like you were saying, like, how would we make a classroom of kids? How can they disagree and still show the kids that disagree with each other that they're actually doing that for the benefit of the group or the class? So
that's a good point. I think in terms of explaining it to children, it's probably a good idea to say, imagine if the heart decided to control everything and cut everyone else off the way that you're, acting selfishly right here, and held on to all the blood. How long do you think that your body would continue? Well, it would drop to the floor pretty quick. You have to understand that people that have differing points of view, that want to do something of value in the context of community, are important. You may not be comfortable with the way they do it. Not all parts of the body handle, feces, but some parts better. Otherwise, the whole thing falls apart.
You can show to a child that even though it might not like the situation it's doing it for the benefit of the whole. Maybe we should do cartoons like that more than, stupid Teletubbies and ridiculous stuff that we...
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think sometimes we underplay our opportunity. We have the model by which to operate socially, and it is biology. So let's pay attention to what it's saying. That is, in essence, our guidebook. It tells us that we need to see, we need to hear, we need to have all of our senses operating coherently in order to navigate well. And that same principle is built into our organs, that we need all of our organs operating in nourishing value to each other in order to function right. And the same thing is true in the classroom, or the community, or the country, or the globe, or the environment. That all of those things working together builds a better state of being, builds wealth in the real sense of wealth, not the money thing.